We're going to get going. There's a lot of activity here at St. John's this morning, not unusual. So good morning. On behalf of Kirk Campbell, excuse me, and Nancy Adams, co-chairs of St. John's Holy Land Committee, welcome to today's forum. Can you hear it? Okay. My name is Penny Winder, and I'm a member of this committee and a trustee on the board of directors of the American Friends of the Episcopal Diocese of Jerusalem, otherwise known as AFEDJ. And so first, a quick word about the Diocese of Jerusalem. The Jerusalem Diocese expands 5 countries: Palestine, Israel, Lebanon, Jordan, and Syria, and it's headed by Archbishop Hossam Nuam. It's founded in 1988. AFEDJ is a non-political, non-sectarian organization dedicated to raising financial support for schools, hospitals, and centers for children with disabilities in Palestine, Israel, Jordan, and Lebanon. These are owned and operated by the Episcopal Diocese of Jerusalem. The diocese also owns and operates more than 24 schools, hospitals, clinics, homes for the elderly, and centers for children with disabilities across the region, many of which are more than 100 years old, not the children, the institutions. The humanitarian institutions of the diocese serve all people, irrespective of religion, ethnicity, or the ability to pay. Christian leaders of these institutions, in a region where Christians are a small minority of the population, embody the values of equity, justice, and respect for the dignity of all. The diocese also includes 27 parishes. All congregations are Arabic-speaking. St. George's Cathedral in Jerusalem and All Saints Church in Beirut also have English-speaking parishioners, and worship services conducted in English. And St. George's Cathedral is where Sari spent a lot of his time growing up. Since 1988, through General Convention resolutions, the Episcopal Church has repeatedly called on its members to learn more about the remarkable Christian witness in the Holy Land and the humanitarian ministries of the Episcopal Diocese of Jerusalem. 3 years in the making, a dynamic education program called Bearing Witness, a journey with Holy Land Christians, is now ready. This new adult curriculum, developed by the AFEDJ, is a free 5-session video-based education program that provides church communities and faith-based organizations with biblical basis, the inspiration, and the tools to work together with Christians in the Holy Land. The Most Reverend Hossam, the Anglican Archbishop, recently said, "Bearing witness is one of the greatest gifts the American Friends will offer our leaders, our churches, and the people of the Episcopal Church and beyond. It speaks to the heart." Each of the 5 program sessions is grounded in a gospel passage. Here this morning with us via Zoom is Eileen Spencer, the Executive Director of AFEDJ. A proven nonprofit leader, Eileen joined AFEDJ in December of 2022 as the Executive Director, bringing to AFEDJ her extensive experience in international philanthropy. Eileen has held senior positions with foundations around the world, mainly focusing on economic development. She explains, and I quote, "Most of my career has centered on raising awareness and resources for critical needs among some of the world's most vulnerable people. In my work in Haiti, Honduras, Mexico, India, Bangladesh, Ghana, Zambia, Russia, and Armenia, my overriding passion has been to provide hope for all of God's people." A lifelong Episcopalian, Eileen describes her Christian faith as central to who I am as a leader. "My faith fuels my desire to serve those in need in the Holy Land." Today, Eileen will speak to us about AFEDJ's powerful and thought-provoking program called Bearing Witness. And during Lent 2025, members of St. John's will be invited to participate in Bearing Witness, but we'll talk more about that later. Eileen, thank you so much for being with us this morning. For it's cold and chilly up there in New York where you are, and we appreciate you taking your Sunday time to talk to us about the program.
Yeah, thank you, Penny. It's my pleasure to be here, and thank you for that really warm welcome this morning. On behalf of American Friends of the Episcopal Diocese of Jerusalem, AFEDJ, I want to extend my sincere appreciation and deep gratitude to each one of you for your ongoing generous support, especially for St. Luke's Hospital in Nablus, and for the opportunity to be with you this afternoon. Next slide. Many of you already know that AFEDJ is dedicated to supporting the Episcopal Diocese of Jerusalem by mobilizing financial resources in the United States for the diocese and its humanitarian institutions, its schools, hospitals, and centers for children with disabilities in Palestine, Israel, Jordan, and Lebanon. Our vision is a holy land where people of all faiths have opportunities to live full, flourishing lives that express the worth and dignity inherent in every human being. That's the perfect slide, Bill. Thank you. Founded over 36 years ago, AFEDJ is an independent, non-political, non-sectarian 501c3 nonprofit organization and the leading fundraising organization for the Episcopal Diocese of Jerusalem. In 2023, AFEDJ raised a record $5.2 million, which includes $4.4 million in direct support for the diocese and 13 of its institutions, including St. Luke's Hospital. This also includes $1.7 million in emergency support for Ali Hospital and a $1 million board-approved grant for urgent needs identified by Archbishop Hossam Naoun. AFEDJ's close relationship with the Episcopal Diocese of Jerusalem is key to our effective work. Through ongoing dialogue and detailed reporting, we ensure that all donations directly support essential programs and services. Notably, 100% of funds designated to specific institutions go directly to those institutions. This partnership maximizes the impact of every contribution, fostering trust and confidence among all of our donors, including you all. Together, we ensure that every dollar makes a significant difference, driving real change and providing critical support where it's needed most. In addition, raising funds for where most needed is a strategic investment in AFEDJ's long-term sustainability and success. By directing resources to critical areas, we ensure the diocese can swiftly address emerging challenges and seize growth opportunities. Funds raised for where most needed are deployed to the diocese as grants and allocated for urgent needs and emerging opportunities that are identified by the Archbishop. One example of the impact of this approach is the $1 million board-approved grant I mentioned earlier. St. Luke's Nablus received a $400,000 allocation from this $1 million grant. This approach strengthens AFEDJ's case for support and partnership, including the collaboration that we enjoy with the Diocese of Jerusalem, as well as enabling AFEDJ and the diocese to adapt to evolving circumstances, deepen impact, and foster resilience within the communities being served. By supporting the diocese in its holistic mission to provide essential services and promote peace and reconciliation, we are able to lay the foundation for lasting change and sustainable development in the Holy Land. Thank you for being a loyal partner in this work and for your trust in our mission. Dedicated to supporting St. Luke's Hospital in Nablus, St. John's Norwood shares a rich and meaningful partnership with AFEDJ, one that began over 14 years ago. Before we transition to bearing witness, I would like to share with you just a brief update on the impact of the war on the West Bank, specifically on St. Luke's Hospital. Next slide. The war in Gaza has resulted in significant civilian casualties and profound economic hardship. This conflict has caused extensive short and long-term effects across all Palestinian territories, disrupting daily life and economic stability, with approximately 40% of jobs lost in the West Bank alone. The escalation of settler violence, military operations, and ongoing restrictions in the West Bank have deeply affected Palestine's economy. This economic crisis is driven by several factors. Workers in Israeli sectors and Palestinian Authority institutions are facing unemployment due to major funding issues and salary suspensions. The cancellation of Israeli entry permits has further contributed to job loss. Additionally, the tourism industry, including hotels, transportation, and related services, has come to a standstill. Next slide. The Gaza war has had a profound impact on Diocese of Jerusalem institutions across the West Bank, leading to a series of significant challenges. One major issue has been supply chain disruptions, which have affected the availability and acquisition of essential supplies. Additionally, checkpoint closures and delays, coupled with difficulties in obtaining travel and entry permits, have created considerable obstacles for workers, including faculty and students, further impeding their ability to travel to and from school and work, crippling their ability to seek meaningful employment outside of the West Bank. Next slide. The non-existent reimbursement from the Palestinian Ministry of Health is causing severe financial strain on hospitals, including St. Luke's. Furthermore, the tourism sector's downturn has impacted vocational hospitality training programs, complicating efforts to provide on-the-job training and diminishing opportunities for hands-on experience in this field. Institutions like St. Luke's Hospital in Nablus, along with the Arab Evangelical Episcopal School and the Episcopal Technological and Vocational Training Center, all located in Ramallah, urgently require ongoing support to provide critical resources for patients, healthcare providers, students, and educators facing the harsh realities of war and economic strain. Slide 6. As you know, St. Luke's Hospital, founded in 1900, is the only charitable hospital in the West Bank city of Nablus. It is a general medical facility specializing in intensive care, neonatal care, and emergency services. With a capacity of 60 beds, St. Luke serves the residents of Nablus and the surrounding villages, offering care to everyone, regardless of religion, ethnicity, or ability to pay. The hospital faces a particular emphasis on supporting the poor and those in need, ensuring that quality medical services are accessible to all. Next slide. The escalation of violence in Nablus, combined with restrictions on movement, have rendered St. Luke's Hospital services largely inaccessible to outpatients, leading to a 40% decline in income. In Nablus alone, approximately 45% of residents have lost their income due to the war's impact on employment, making it difficult for them to meet basic needs and access to health care. This increased demand for free service has placed significant financial strain on the hospital, while simultaneously underscoring its mission to serve the region's most vulnerable. Furthermore, the closure of diocesan guest houses since the onset of the conflict has further reduced the hospital's income. Previously, revenue from these guest houses has helped to cover the costs of providing care to those in need. The hospital's occupancy rates have also been significantly affected. Since the conflict began, the average number of both inpatient and outpatient visits have decreased by almost 50%. Next slide. The journey ahead is filled with both challenges and opportunities. The magnitude of this current crisis can at times prompt us to have feelings of helplessness. Personally, I feel grateful to be able to focus on the families and children who are being cared for by the Diocese of Jerusalem and the remarkable leadership and staff of the diocese. We can bring hope and healing to those who are suffering. Most likely, the rebuilding of Gaza won't be seen in our lifetime, but we can be part of the recovery and rebuilding of the diocese and its institutions. Your unwavering support has empowered the Episcopal Diocese of Jerusalem to continue its essential humanitarian work, providing critical resources and services to those most in need. Whether addressing the urgent needs of families impacted by the ongoing war in Gaza or supporting children's education and healthcare in the West Bank, your partnership with the AFEDJ continues to have a tangible impact by bringing hope and relief to vulnerable communities during their most challenging times. It's with deep gratitude I want to thank you for your trust and continued generosity. Now I'd like to share with you an opportunity to participate in a special Lenten series this spring, Bearing Witness. Next slide. As Penny mentioned, since 1988, through General Convention resolutions, the Episcopal Church has repeatedly called on its members to learn more about the remarkable Christian witness in the Holy Land and the humanitarian ministries of the Episcopal Diocese of Jerusalem. In July 2023, AFEDJ released an educational curriculum, Bearing Witness, A Journey with Holy Land Christians. Bearing Witness is a free 5-session video-based educational curriculum that provides church communities and faith-based organizations with the biblical basis, inspiration, and tools to walk together with Christians in the Holy Land. In Bearing Witness videos, filmed on location in the Middle East, you will hear extraordinary Christians, Muslims, and Jews describe life in Israel and the occupied Palestinian territories of East Jerusalem, the West Bank, and Gaza. It elevates the conversation out of binary thinking and exposes us to new ways of seeing and understanding the realities on the ground in that area from the perspective of the people who are actually living it. Next slide. Each of the 5 Bearing Witness sessions is grounded in a gospel passage about a theme of Jesus's ministry: belonging, healing, teaching, breaking barriers, and building hope, and features a Palestinian or American priest reflecting on the scripture. Each session represents videos that illuminate everyday life in the Holy Land and how Episcopal Diocese of Jerusalem ministries respond to the needs of people of all religions, ethnicities, and economic circumstances. Next slide. Bearing Witness participants will meet 25 Christian, Jewish, and Muslim leaders, as well as students, teachers, and others served by the institutions. One of my very favorite quotes by Archbishop Hossam is, "We are entrusted with this mission in the Holy Land to be a beacon of hope, love, and peace in this world. We do this ministry not for ourselves, but we do this on behalf of Christians everywhere." Now, let's watch an introduction to Bearing Witness.
The Episcopal Diocese of Jerusalem bears witness to the love of Christ here in the land of the Holy One, in the place where it all happened. The Diocese of Jerusalem extends into 5 countries of Palestine, Israel, Jordan, Syria, and Lebanon. And we have more than 35 institutions of healthcare, rehabilitation, and education. The Diocese of Jerusalem sees its ministry and mission through the loving action of Christ's love for the world, and especially in a land of pilgrimage, walking in the footsteps of Jesus. The American Friends of the Diocese of Jerusalem brings people together of goodwill in order to support the Diocese of Jerusalem, without which we actually can't carry out the ministry that we are carrying today. Friendship is something that is more than valuable. We are bound together to do and to work and to nourish and to love people whoever they are.
The American Friends of the Episcopal Diocese of Jerusalem was born out of great need and great suffering. Its mission is to support the diaconal ministries of the Episcopal Diocese of Jerusalem, hospitals, schools, rehabilitation centers, old age homes, job training centers.
American Friends and the Diocese of Jerusalem, being partners in mission, we together work in order to transform the lives of so many people, and especially those who are disadvantaged and on the margins of society. Bearing Witness is a program that is done in cooperation between the American Friends and the Diocese of Jerusalem. This program is also for our American friends, wherever they are, in order to hear these wonderful stories and the transformation that happens in people's lives in the place that is dear to us.
The core of this program is the videos of people who are living in the Holy Land at this moment that tell their authentic stories from a diverse viewpoint, whether they be Palestinians, whether they be Israelis, whether they are Muslim, Christians, or Jewish, whether they are clergy or lay, young, old. They tell their own story that we're allowed to witness and hear and see the places they live. And so many of us who cannot go to the Holy Land, this provides a wonderful opportunity to be able to see firsthand and hear what life is really like and what it means to bear witness to wholeness, to teaching, to healing in a place that is very broken, but that they have hope and are called to do this despite all the obstacles that they have.
Bearing Witness provides Christian communities with the biblical basis, the inspiration, and the tools to connect with and support the Christian witness in the Holy Land. It's really an invitation to learn from these women and men firsthand, to listen to them on their own terms, and allow that listening and learning to transform us, to recalibrate who we are as a church and as Christians, and how we express that in our ministries.
And therefore, I invite you to listen carefully and prayerfully with the people who are talking to you, even though virtually, in order to understand and to deepen your own formation and your own spirituality. How can I be of help to the people who are protecting my faith in the place where it all happened? So may God bless you. May God continue to work with you so that you can bring more life to what already is happening. And by giving life, we understand that our risen Lord will bless us with even more blessings.
Thank you, Bill. Very grateful for setting me up well this morning. Now I believe I am turning the program over to Kirk to talk more about how you can participate in Bearing Witness.
Yeah, Eileen, if you would stay on for question and answer. We wanted to actually at this point open the floor up to your questions about the Bearing Witness program. I will say that, just following up on what Eileen said earlier, we, the Holy Land Committee, are going to offer the Bearing Witness curriculum here at St. John's during the Lenten season from March 9th to April 6th. I think that is, during the adult forum. So it'll be a 10 o'clock series over those 5 weeks. And yeah, so that's what we're going to do on Bearing Witness. I also wanted to say on behalf of the Holy Land Committee that in addition to this educational series that we're going to facilitate, and currently the facilitators are Nancy, Ann, and myself, and we welcome others who want to take, there's a training that AFEDJ offers for bearing witness, and Eileen can talk more about that. Nancy and I and Ann all were trained by Diane Branton, Eileen. I don't know if she's, if you have a new person, but in any case, AFEDJ will facilitate new facilitators to help us out with that. So there's that educational piece. And then the other three Holy Land Committee missions include interfaith work. And there's an event this afternoon that Nancy can tell you more about with New Story Leadership and the Jewish Islamic Dialogue Society down at GW to present or talk more about New Story Leadership's Phoenix Plan for Peace. We've also done humanitarian work here, and as our third mission, and our other piece is advocacy work that the Holy Land Committee is in an ongoing process doing outreach to our Maryland and national representatives and to the Episcopal Church leadership, trying to bring about a ceasefire, connect U.S. financing to Israel and Palestine, to their compliance on human rights, and to restore funding to the UN Relief Works Agency, U.S. funding to UNRWA as some of our advocacy items. So you're not here about all that, but back to the Bearing Witness program. Any questions for Eileen or about the series that we're going to offer during Lent?
Questions or comments?
And I'll just start with Eileen. Can you just talk a little bit more about the facilitator, the AFEDJ facilitator that Nancy and I and Ann took training from, because we do want to add more people from our congregation if they'd like to be facilitators. Thank you.
Sure, absolutely. So the program is designed to empower current facilitators to train facilitators. AFEDJ also has a church engagement committee, and members of that committee will be available to help train new facilitators. So that's the short-term vision for right now, if there are any folks who are interested in being trained as facilitators for bearing witness.
Well, so the commitment that we've made is to offer the Bearing Witness program to St. John's. And as I mentioned, and I think Eileen mentioned, it's a 5-part series that is based on the gospel teachings of Jesus, and it focuses on belonging. And so the first session is on the multi-ethnic identity in the region. The second session is on healing, and among the things that they'll talk about is the work done at the hospitals that Eileen mentioned. There's St. Luke's in the West Bank in particular, and also Al-Ahli Hospital in Gaza. The third session is about teaching, and there is discussion about schools in the region. The fourth session is on breaking barriers and discussion of the work that AFEDJ does for people with disabilities in the Holy Land. And then the final session is on building hope, and that focuses more on the Arab citizens of Israel.
So the sessions are video based. There's a video shown, and then there's a discussion time. So we will be breaking out into discussions. Normally this takes a little bit more than an hour, so we're going to be trying to figure out how to modulate to be able to do both within our adult forum hours. So it'll be 5 sequential adult forum days that we'll be putting this on. So the videos are fabulous. I will say, however, this was all done before the Gaza war started, so that if anything, things have gotten a lot worse, particularly in Gaza, but the West Bank is just exploding. So, I think we need to be mindful that what we're seeing is like the beginning, and that there's a huge additional need at this point. So any other thoughts, questions, comments? Yeah, Peter.
Thank you. May I ask a question not about bearing witness, but about your introduction specifically? You talked about St. Luke's. Could you tell us a little bit more, if you can, about the status of Ali Hospital in Gaza?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much for that question. Ali is operational as of now and seeing more than 300 patients per day, if you can imagine. They're continuing to persevere. In addition to the Ali staff, Princess Basma also has a satellite clinic within Ali Hospital. And so they're working in tandem with the Ali staff to do rehabilitation for the many, many children who are suffering from amputations and burns.
I'm wondering if you could talk a little bit about the possible impact of the fall of the Assad regime. Does that create opportunities or perils for the Episcopal Diocese in Syria?
Yeah, I'm aware, and I think that's kind of outside of the scope of what I can address this morning. I hope that you'll respect that, just trying to stay focused on the humanitarian part of the work.
If I could ask you to just elaborate a bit on Nancy's point that needs have really been changing dramatically, and if you could just say how they're changing and what the sort of, intensification of activity in the West Bank is the effect that that's having on how these institutions that we help support can operate.
Yes, thank you so much for that question. I'll give you a good example. The ETVTC, the Episcopal Technological Training Center in Ramallah, the head of that institution lives in Jerusalem, and he continues to make that trip every day back and forth. Normally, it would take him 30 minutes. It takes him 3 hours each way. Checkpoints and other dangers that he has to endure getting to the school. In addition to that, the hardship, right, of being able to navigate getting to work or school, the financial impact has been extremely severe. And so every institution is operating, with a cash shortfall right now. And so we really take it upon ourselves and feel responsibility to be able to help the Diocese of Jerusalem and the institutions maintain some sort of presence, especially during this time. They're the ones on the front line, right? Continuing to serve those who are in dire circumstances. And these heads of institutions and their staff are also suffering. But they continue to show up every day and care for the thousands and thousands of families and children. I don't know if that answered your question.
Anybody? Well, I think what we will do is to begin to advance planning for the sessions, and we will be going out to see who wants to register to join us, and would love to have you all participate and bring others along. There's a lot that needs to happen, and I think one of the things we're finding through the diocese is that there are lots of other churches in the region that are very interested in trying to do bearing witness, and some of them may join us. We may be trying to organize some other parts of the diocese to put the program on too. So there's a real problem, I think, particularly in the middle of the country. I mean, Washington, we're particularly blessed by people who have been involved in international activities for a long time. But much of the middle of the country doesn't have any sense that there are any Christians whatsoever I will say this is also true on Capitol Hill as we go, the NSL people go up, and we always have one Palestinian Christian at least is a part of our delegations. And they're like shocked that there's a Palestinian that's a Christian. So there's just enormous amount of education that needs to happen. And this is a really good first start for all of us. And as I said, recognizing that the situation has changed dramatically since October 7th of 23. So any further thoughts, questions? Yes, Bill?
Nancy, as we were speaking, and Eileen, I want to go back to your sort of understandably not picking up the political question about Syria, but I guess I'm struck by, first of all, the immensity of the humanitarian need and deteriorating as we speak, and at the same time the almost, I mean, I would say in Palestine and Israel, almost insurmountable political division, but in this country as well. And I'm just wondering how, Eileen, I don't know if you want to comment on this, how do you keep focused and keep some semblance of hope and persevere in the midst of that kind of just tremendous division? I don't know, what are the tactics, or how do you keep a positive direction?
Thank you for that question. Yeah, for me personally and for our team at AFEDJ, we're focusing on the gifts that God has given us and how do we use those well and do excellent work. And, my whole life I have fought the fundraising piece. I mean, I've always kind of leaned toward programs delivery of program services, but for some reason, I see where this is something that I can contribute to in a way that is going to make a difference, for a small population. And so I think for everyone, for all of us here in this room, right, whatever your gift is, if it's advocacy, if it's writing, if it's just sharing a story, if it's fundraising, whatever that gift is just to use it and use it well. So for me, that's how I find hope. Every day I have conversations with heads of the institutions, and they are also feeling helpless at points. I mean, you can only have conversations with so many tiny children who have lost limbs, who talk about their dream is to be able to play soccer again. So how do you continue to minister to those remarkable leaders who are serving families who are in these circumstances? It's hard. And I think it can be overwhelming at times, but for me, recentering on what I can actually do to make a difference. And that's really what gets me through every day.
Eileen, I'm going to do a little pitch on New Story Leadership for a moment, but you might find this interesting too. For those of you who know about New Story Leadership, it's the group that brings together 5 Palestinian and 5 Israelis every summer. It's about 15 years old. It's a program modeled after a program that was used in Ireland, Northern Ireland. The immediate past Prime Minister of Ireland was a graduate of that program. So what we do is train people in leadership. These are really incredible young leaders. We train them in leadership. They have internships on the Hill. They build those relationships with congressional offices. They advocate with the administration in the Hill. So this program, the Middle East version of it, has been going on for about 15 years. And we now have about 150 alumni, many of whom have returned. Some are living in Europe or studying, but by and large, most of them are back in the region, and they're doing productive things, trying to do their bit to bring peace to the region. After October 7th, a group of our alumni immediately responded and developed a statement that they sent to the Hill, advocating for ceasefire and return of the hostages. But they decided that that wasn't enough. And so we supported, NSL supported them and got them to Geneva, where they put together a post-peace plan that they worked on, building on examples of what was done in different areas in similar kinds of situations, dealing with restoration of Gaza, dealing with rebuilding the political processes, recognizing that all their leaders have failed them. I mean, these people are like 30 years old and they've been through 8 wars. So we always have a Gazan, Palestinian Christian, West Banker, and several Israelis that are part of that program. And our alumni, after putting together this plan, came this summer. We didn't have a regular program. We couldn't really recruit, but they came this summer in 2 different tranches and intensively worked the Hill, the administration, U.S. Institute of Peace, Council on Foreign Relations, all of which were just blown away by what they had put together. The most comprehensive plan anybody had seen. It is, and it was done jointly, Palestinians and Israelis. So the focus is not on the peace. The focus is on, okay, then what? How do we build something new, build a new story? And they've put pen to paper in very concrete ways. So that's what the event this afternoon is going to be presenting to GW students and faculty and the Jewish Islamic Dialogue folks, the core of what they are calling the Phoenix Plan. So I know you've been very supportive of NSL in the past, and we'll try to do a presentation at some point also on the Phoenix Plan here, just so you have a sense to see that. But should you be interested, it's on the website, the whole plan. It's about 80 pages long. There's a summary as well that's there. And a number of people at St. John's this summer had an opportunity to hear about it as well. So anyway, just wanted to give that little pitch and to say that we look forward to continued work with St. John's as a whole. Thank you. Shall we draw this to a close, Penny?
Thank you, Eileen. And thank you, everybody, for coming. It's amazing how everyone that works through AFEDJ is is remaining hopeful. I mean, that's all you can do, is remain hopeful and do the best you can. We can't be there on the ground, but we can help by learning about what's going on, sharing that word. Monetary resources, they are getting there very safely. We can guarantee that. How long it's going to go on? Forever. I mean, this is not a one-day operation. This is a forever operation. And as Eileen said, in rebuilding Gaza, we won't see that in our lifetime, but we can give hope to the people that are there and working on it and the generations coming up. And New Story Leadership is one of those those generations of leaders coming up. So, it's difficult. And I don't envy Eileen. I've talked to her sometimes after she's talked to some of these leaders and been in tears about the conditions. And then they hang up and then they go back to their job. And that's what we have to do. We have to work. So thank you. And you can always go on the websites and get more information. And I really encourage you to try to participate in the Bearing Witness program in Lent, because I believe if you do that, you'll get another whole perspective of what life is there in the Holy Land. And if you ever get to go on a pilgrimage, I encourage you to do that too. It changes your life. Thank you, Eileen. Enjoy the rest of your day. We appreciate you taking Sunday morning out of your busy schedule on your day off, so to speak. But thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. And very grateful to each and every one of you. And Bill, especially to you for getting us all set up this morning. And Penny, thank you.
All right, go in peace.